All right, people, I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit Chat. Thank you so much for joining me. All right, here we go. Dave Ramsey, $328,000 in student loan debt, and we aren't even doctors. Remember, no matter how bad your debt is, somebody has it worse. Here we go. Let's play it.
Akimi starts off this hour in North Carolina. Hi, Akimi. How are you?
Hi, Kimi.
Hi, Dave. How are you? Thank you so much for taking my call today.
Sure.
Don't people just sound amazingly happy that $328,000 in debt? I'd be like sobbing and tears. I don't know. It's just kind of surprises me if I didn't know the situation. Looking at the title description, I would think everything was just peaches and roses.
What's up in your world?
I am 30 years old. I'm married, and combined, me and my husband have roughly $328,000 worth of student loan debt.
Good
I know a
Lord.
house is out of the question.
Goodness.
No else is out of the question. Okay, so let's mathematically calculate. So about every 100,000, estimate 1,000. So 1, 2, 3. So they're looking at a solid $3,000 a month to keep up with interest and possibly a little dip into the principal. As a matter of fact, I'd even say it's probably higher than that. But we're just going to safely say about $3,000 a month to keep up with interest and a little bit into the principal. Wow.
Wait a minute. Who's the doctor or lawyer? Unbelievable.
Neither one of us. I'm a clinician. I'm a counselor, marriage and family counselor, and he does graphic design and engineering.
Everybody stop. Inhale and exhale. Oh, for those who are walking, because I know there are a couple of you guys that walk to this, the look on Ramsey's face, it looks like he's ready to just bite his nails, okay? Oh, $328,000 to basically be a counselor in one of those graphic art designs. You know, this is how many years ago? Okay, this was 6 years ago. Remember, people, we can learn. I don't care if the video is 10 years ago. We can learn from people's mistakes. And unfortunately, the odds are they still have the debt. Okay? Oh, my goodness. I'm going to back that up just because that was so much to inhale. And we are only 28 seconds into the video. All right, let's continue, people.
I'm a clinician. I'm a counselor, marriage and family counselor, and he does graphic design and engineering. But I just graduated last year, so I'm still.
Why so much student loan debt for those degree fields?
Well, he's
Sorry, I got trigger happy. Sometimes my little twitch finger goes a little fast on the mouse.
out of state, so that's where he got hit in the head.
People, you don't go out of state for degrees like that. I don't think you should go out of state for degrees unless you're independently wealthy. And there are people who can't afford it. Okay, there are people, mom and dad can send you out of state, spring break, and here's the credit card, charge it up. Life is not fair.
And $166,000. So he went to a different state. That's why his is so high.
For graphic artists.
And mine's is undergrad and graduate combined.
You know, oh man, all of a sudden my world looks a little brighter. Maybe some of the mistakes I've made in the past can be rectified. I feel horrible for these people. And they're 30 years old, which tells me, where were the adults in the room? Where were the adults? Where were they? Where was someone saying, son, you should not, for a graphic arts degree, just because it has the fancy word engineer at the end, okay? Oh, geez.
Okay. What's your household income?
Oh.
Combined together, we're, let's see, I make $45,000 a year. He makes about $55,000.
This whole thing is just, I'm feeling kind of bad. This is painful. Do you see, people, what student loans can do to you? I guarantee you they're still holding on to this debt. Okay? 6 years, yeah, I guarantee you they're holding on to the debt. $328,000. Minimum $3,000 a month just to keep up. That means at the absolute best with their incomes, that they literally have to have one person's income. Every penny of it, every penny needs to go to the student loan, and they live on the other one. every single penny. Like their $90,000 gross job, they need to literally live on one person's income, and the other one completely goes to the student loan. And that's just to keep up, people. That's just to keep up. That's just to keep up. I really feel badly for them. Oh wow. No adults in the room.
Okay.
Wow.
It's going to be a long slog, isn't it, kiddo?
It is. I know. I already have no hope.
Wow.
See, this is the problem with student loans. When people get themselves so far in debt that by the age of 30 years old, I did a TikTok review the other day. She said, "Where's my gun?" And this one's going no hope. This is where student loans go bad, where they go south. Because these debts were racked up without consideration of what the final bill was going to be. That's what happened. There is something drastically wrong when at 29, 30 years old, you're already going, there is no hope. There's something drastically wrong when you think it's a good investment for a graphic arts degree to pay out-of-state fees. There's something drastically wrong when you get your bachelor's degree, then you go on immediately to get your graduate degree, but your bachelor's degree isn't even paid off. There's something incredibly wrong when you are racking up debt that can spiral out of control with interest so fast that if they're not careful, this could become a $500,000 debt by the time they're less than 40. Wow.
Well, I want you to have hope, but it's going to be a distant light over the horizon. I mean, you got mathematical.
They almost can't, even if they wanted to divorce each other, they couldn't afford a divorce. They couldn't. This is a huge debt. They bought their house, people. This is the marital home that they purchased. $328,000. Now, this was 6 years ago, so maybe the good hope is their $328,000 home has doubled, and hopefully they sold it and wiped out the entire student loan. Unlikely, though. Unlikely. Because the problem is, even if you take it and you sell it, where do you go after you sell it? But all case good scenarios before the pandemic. So if this house is worth anything, and I don't know where it's at, but if this house is worth, it's in Durham, North Carolina. Hey, Raleigh? I think it's Raleigh or Raleigh. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Raleigh. I'm probably botching it up. It's either Raleigh or Raleigh. Okay. Durham, North Carolina. I apologize for not quite understanding how to pronounce that name. But, it may not be as high as if it were like here in Tampa, which has gotten ridiculous. But that would probably... But that's if they own a home. Oh, my God. Wait a minute. They don't own a home. She said we can't buy them. Oh, my good, to their renters. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Oh,
issues here with $100,000 towards $300,000. I mean, if I do 60 a year out of your 100 and put you on beans and rice, that into 300, that's like what, in that 5 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
That math doesn't work. That math doesn't work. 60 a year out of 90,000. Well, it might work. Oh, this is just a bad situation. They're renters. Best thing they could do is move home, beg their parents, and they worky for the next near decade to pay off this house that they've purchased that they can't live in.
You got a tough 5-6 years ahead of you.
No, Mr. Ramsey. No, this ain't. Why does every student loan problem seem to get solved in around the 5-year mark? If houses could be solved in 5 years, there is no reason for a 30-year mortgage to ever exist again. Ever. There's no reason for a 30-year mortgage to exist if a $328,000 home, which is what it says on here, if a $328,000 home can be paid off in 5-6 years, under Ramsey's timeline, there would be no reason for a 30-year mortgage to ever exist.
And that's if you really, really dial it back. And no, you don't need to buy a house till you clean this mess up.
They can't buy a house. I don't think they can. I mean, there's always a way, I'm sure, to do it, but...
Unbelievable.
Kids are out of the question, too, right?
Yeah. Do what?
I said, and kids would probably also be out of the question out of the scenario.
No,
children either.
but you won't be able to quit work and stay home.
Oh no,
I think she was saying having kids. I didn't quite understand. She was saying having kids is out of the scenario, and he's saying no, but you certainly can't be an SAHM, stay at home mom.
no. I've never wanted to. I couldn't do that.
Okay.
Well, she couldn't do it if she wanted to. Honey, if you're not careful, this is going to be a $500,000 debt.
Okay. I mean, kids, you can have kids, and they're not that expensive. They're not. I mean, you know, they eat what.
Talk to parents who have kids with special needs, and then ask them if they aren't that expensive.
You eat usually if you're smart. Once they get past the early stages, anyway. But
That's assuming everything goes just right, which we all pray for. But every kid, some kids have special needs.
kids don't break you, but you know, you don't have an extra $30,000 to save up and put down on a house while you've got three.
I disagree that kids can't break you. Okay, I know people just trying to afford the daycare for a child. Yeah, no, kids can break you. I know people in this economy have had to move back home because they can't support the rent, the kids, and everything else.
$338,000 in student loan debt, making $100,000.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, we're in an apartment, so we're gonna. I told him we need to stay there until we knock down some of this debt.
Yeah,
You see, this is. I'll say it 100 times. Student loans, the only bill that you can run up carelessly without thought or regard to your future capabilities, your future financial security, and it's socially acceptable. It is socially acceptable. Doesn't it kind of make you mad if you think about it? It should make people mad. If she had gone out, and let's just say she didn't have the student loan debt, and let's say she said, you know what, I went and I bought myself a $90,000 car. Okay, I'm living in an apartment. I bought myself a $90,000 car. We would look at it and we'd go, God, you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. I make $45,000 a year. He makes 50. We went and purchased a $90,000 vehicle. We socially would probably say that's nuts. At least most of us would. But we don't do that. We don't question the student loan as it is being rung up. It is socially acceptable to close your eyes to the bill and to keep ringing it up. And then only when we're done with the bill, we sit and we say things like the TikToker said, give me a gun, or I think she said, where's my gun? Only on the student loan bill. Cars are being repossessed today, from what I can tell on the news, at a higher rate than ever before. At least this is kind of what seems to be trending on the news. People can't pay their $70,000 car note. They can't pay their $40,000, $50,000 car note. These cars are getting repossessed. But we accept $328,000 in school loans. And that's okay. And we accept that we really aren't going to know what the bill is before. There is no way in hell you get my ass back into school without me knowing exactly what the bill is. First off, I'm not going back to school. I've already had my Hail Mary with my 110 forgiveness. I'm not ever going back. But if I were to go back, you could not drag me there kicking and screaming without some sign, this is the bill, this is how much it's going to cost me. You couldn't do it. But yet, and she said she got her bachelor's and her master's. So figure she started probably, she was starting in her late teens, early 20s. But yet this is socially acceptable to just rack up debt for student loans. It is socially acceptable. It should actually make you mad if you think about it, that people in their early 20s can do this. Because remember, she's 30 now, but you figure, 7 years of school, maybe 8 years of school. Yeah, and this is how they retire. This is how they become 50-year-olds, okay, and 60-year-olds with student loan debts that they can't get rid of. It starts early.
You need to get some progress on it before you even move to a rental house. But yeah, I think it's gonna take you a while, so you're gonna have to live somewhat of a life. But you don't need to plan on vacations, and you don't need to plan on expensive car purchases or anything else.
Even if they had no interest, you're looking at almost $90,000 a year. Okay, with very little, just take 328, round it up to 60. Okay, I mean you're looking at $90,000 a year, and that's if interest were frozen. If it stopped right now, about 80,000 a year to get it paid off in the 4 years that Ramsey says you can pay it off. It I feel really bad for these people. You shouldn't be 30 years old saying there's no hope. But to give you some perspective as to where they're at, when I was 36, when my student loan bill was 85,000. I was 36. It finally got forgiven last year at 56 for 110. I'm public service. I could never make enough to pay for my cost of living, plus pay enough into the student loan to ever get into, to really dig into the principal. So she started at 30. They're only 6 years. To give you some perspective, they are 6 years younger than I was when I started. I was sitting at 85. They're sitting at 328. To give you some perspective. So when he says, hey, this could be knocked off in, 4 years. No. Not, again, I won't say it's ever impossible. Big inheritance. You get a miraculous, wealthy job. But from what they're saying, no, you can't. So even with their 90,000, they are 3 times what I was making. Their student loan is 3 times the balance of what mine was. This is a scary and very unfortunate situation to be in. And were these degrees really worth it?
You've got a substantial mess on your hands, and you're going to have to really lean into it to make it go away inside of 10 years.
That is the first time I think I've ever heard Ramsey say 10 years. All right. That's good to hear that. Because this 3-4 year business, no, guys, it ain't happening.
You can do it in 5, but you're going to have no life at all. You can do it in 6 and have a tiny bit of a life.
They have 3 times the student loan bill that I had. And even with their dual income, it is still 3 times the bill.
Okay.
But it's not going to be buying a house, and it is going to be, you're having kids during that time for sure. I mean, that's a long time to put off having kids.
Okay. Can you hear it in her voice? You can hear it in her voice.
So are either one of you, let's see, he's in graphic arts, he's making 60. Why are you only making 40 as a counselor? That's low.
Well, no, I work full-time at an insurance company. I'm not fully licensed yet, so I'm provisionally licensed. So I work part-time at a crisis center. So I won't get my full salary as a clinician until I'm fully licensed.
Which will be about what, another year? You got a year worth of practice?
About a year and a half, anywhere from a year and a half to 2 years since I just started at the crisis center this year.
You have to get,
and chances are they're not going to be able to make above what the interest is going to be, if they can even make that. And guess what's going to happen to the bill? It's just going to keep on climbing. These bills spiral out of control. This is what you don't see on the stinking advertisements at the universities. They don't post videos like this. The only way people really find out stuff like this is you got to go sleuthing for it on YouTube and find channels like this. Really. That's really what it comes down to. You take a naive kid straight out of high school, put them in front of a financial aid office at the school of their dreams, okay? Channels like mine and other channels that warn about student loan debt and all that stuff, they get passed over.
get so many hours of practicum.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then your master's allows you to pass and start. Yeah, as a clinician,
This wasn't worth it for a math. It's the graduate degree. If you have to go into this type of debt, really worth it? Mine sure as heck wasn't. It was not worth it.
ought to be up around 100, shouldn't you?
Hopefully.
Yes.
God respect. I respect Mr. Ramsey, but everybody should be up to 100. Pretty much everybody. With maybe public service workers. Everybody else should be making 100.
See, that changes our numbers a little bit once you get there. because
Okay.
it doubles your income, takes you from 100 to 160.
Yes, sir.
You know,
How many people though make in these top brackets? How many people make in these top brackets? Really? And then even if you make in that top bracket and you consider all the other individual debts that you have, all the other incidentals that you have. Yeah, we all have our main electric lights, phone. Okay, we all yada yada. We got the basics, but everybody else also has their own incidentals. You may be paying for a medical bill. Okay, people have other things that they're paying for. This idealized, um, everybody's going to make 100. You should be making 140, 160. If it were that easy to do, trust me, I would be doing it. Well, you've been a teacher for 18 years. You should be at the top of your income bracket, which isn't much. But let's take it down to what reality is. Take it to reality.
and household income, and that changes the curve. So you might do this if given that, you might do this in 4 years.
Oh, Jesus. Now we're bound down. Oh, God. I wish I had some more root beer in my Chick-fil-A cup.
Okay.
But you guys are just going to have to be very intentional, and
If they did not have this student loan bill, okay? If they did not have this student loan bill and they decided to go purchase a house at $328,000, would they ask for a 6-year mortgage? We're taking on a $328,000 home loan. We want to pay it off in 4 to 6 years. Would that happen? Heck no. Why would it not happen? Because financially, it's not realistic. And we can say, yeah, but they're taking their student loans and all they're going to do is pay the student loans. They're going to skip out on all the other stuff that they might normally have had. My experience, no, not to the extreme that people think. Because people still ultimately want a life in between. And I'm not saying they're going to go spend lavishly on anything. They've got nothing to spend from what I can kind of tell. But if this were a house, they found their house, how likely is it that they would take out a 6-year loan? We're going to take out a 6-year mortgage. Not likely, right? And this is why I say it's not likely this is going to go away anytime soon.
I don't want you freaked out, paralyzed with fear, but I want you.
I would be freaked out and paralyzed with fear. Yeah, 328,000. Yeah, I would be. I couldn't pay off 110,000 on half the income. And even if you say, okay, fine, let's double my income. Well, then the highest the bill should be, if we're going to double the student loan bill, is be $220 respectively. There's even more than double. There's just triple.
You scared
Right.
enough. I want you scared enough to stay on task.
They're already scared.
Okay.
A healthy kind of a fear, like don't touch the hot stove kind of fear.
Right.
I'll always remember, you guys, it doesn't matter if you're buying a piece of property or if you're buying a student loan. If you could not pay off that piece of property in that $328,000 piece of property, whatever the property value is, if you could not tell your mortgage company, hey, we're going to buy this and we're going to pay it off in 4 to 6 years. If you can't take out a 6-year loan, don't think it's going to change any just because it's a student loan. The student loan is just the name of the dollars that you're going to be paying. It's a loan is a loan. It doesn't matter if it's a house, if it's a car, if it's a student loan. It's all the same dollar bills. There is nothing special about student loans. And this is why, and I read an article once that said they really need to stop calling it student loans, because it's an attempt to ease the financial pain and burden. It's an attempt to kind of whitewash it, is what I think it is. Make it seem less damaging. Well, this is a student loan, and that's more acceptable. But if this couple were to take on a $328,000 mortgage, would they say to the bank, "Oh, we're going to pay it off in 6 years"? Absolutely not.
Okay.
Not I'm overwhelmed, I'll never get out of this, and I'm hopeless. Not that. That's not what we want. You got to fight through.
But logic, honestly, this is going to be carried for a very long time. Very long time.
So,
Okay.
but you can do it. I can mathematically see it. I just know you got a long, tough life ahead of you for these next couple of years.
Every mortgage holder needs to have Dave Ramsey do their budget because, like I said, there's no reason for a mortgage to ever exist beyond 5, 6 years. Seriously, regardless of size, every mortgage holder. Does it matter if you're paying a mortgage versus a student loan? Did the dollars change any? No.
Okay.
And quick as you can
All
get
right.
that practicum under your belt and double your income, the faster you do that, the faster this mess is gone and the faster you move on past it, right?
He is assuming she can double her income. That's an assumption. I've expressed how I feel about people making their future plans based on money that does not exist. One of the things that I swear helped me become debt free, okay, because I had been really working towards debt freedom for about the time I bought my condo, 2020. I was really determined I wanted to become debt free, and which is what caused me to only buy $100,000 condo versus a 200,000. I really was aiming to become debt free. And one of the things that that I think helped me become debt free was future money. I never budgeted a surplus ever. I instead reversed it and I said, well, what would happen if, like when I bought my condo, what would happen if my income dropped in half? Now, how much could I afford? How much mortgage could I afford? And I figured out that, well, I could afford a $200,000 mortgage, and even comfortably, in fact, comfortably. What would happen if I lost half my income? Oh, well, guess what? I could only afford a $100,000 mortgage, and that's how I purchased it. The problem is when people sit and they go, well, we're going to assume that you increase you're going to double your income. I never, ever have budgeted my financial future. Okay, ever since I've been divorced, for 10 years, I've never, ever have budgeted my financial future on what I think I could make down the road. Anything that I get down the road that was unplanned, pandemic money, okay, the stimulus money, pay raises, pay bonuses, okay, $2 that I found on a walk once, along Dale Mabry in Tampa, okay, any money that goes beyond my basic paycheck is all bonus money. It is never planned into my budget as a way to get out of debt. Instead, I go, what would happen if my budget were cut in half? Now, how much could I afford? Now, how much would I need to earn to live on if my budget were cut in half? How much could I actually afford to live on? And that is how I came into an 840 square foot condo at 100,000 versus living in a 200, even $50,000 place. The problem that I have in a lot of advice, okay, and I think we all know, I love the show. I respect Dave Ramsey a lot. We don't have to agree on everything, and that's certainly okay. But the problem I have is so much of people's hope is based on, well, a year from now, 2 years from now, you should be making 50%, 75%, 100% more than what you're making now. How many of us, realistically, have had a 100% increase, or a 50% increase in just a couple years? You're able to increase it. Now, I'm not saying that that doesn't happen to people, okay? But we're looking at mass numbers. And that's the issue that I have. So people are being told, well, just a couple years from now, as soon as you get this piece of paper in your hand, you're going to be making this much. Well, didn't they try that with the student loan and it didn't quite work now, did it? Well, we took on all this student loan debt because we were told this piece of paper was going to double our income. We were told this piece of paper was going to give us the American dream. That's the problem that I have. So I disagree with telling people that as soon as you get this sheet of paper, as soon as you get through your practicum or whatever it is, you should be at the top of the pay scale. I disagree with giving people hope in that, at that angle. Just my personal thought and opinion. I think it's unrealistic. And I think if it were realistic, we wouldn't have over $1 trillion in student debt. Because you can't tell me that the $1.5 trillion of student debt that we have hasn't been by people who have gotten their degree, gotten into their promotions, gotten their certificates. They've done all of this. But why do we have so much debt then? Why do we continue to have student debt piling up? Because it's not as easy as finish this practicum, finish this residency, finish this, finish that, and you're just magically going to double your income. Not for most career options. Some career options, absolutely. I think it's very, very logical. Others, the majority, I would say no.
Yes, sir.
So that gives you a whole nother reason to crank up those hours to get, because it's a number of hours in most states. Is it in North Carolina?
Yes, it is. We need 1,500 before we can be before we can be fully licensed.
Yeah, and so I'm working.
And I can tell you, I know someone who I think does the same sort of thing. She said counseling of some sort, right? It's a haul. It's a haul. And sometimes, and here's the kicker, if it is what I think it is, the counseling, that can cost you also. Now, I can't speak for this lady for sure because I don't know her exact situation. They didn't bring it up, but I do know because I have friends who are in counseling who are licensed counselors, either licensed counselors or getting their master's in counseling, yada yada. And depending upon the arrangement, guess what? They can be charged to get those counseling hours. Yeah, they have to pay for it. Meaning the student, it's considered part of the education, and that can cost. Not in every situation, but in some, I absolutely know for a fact it can, because I have I have a couple of friends who are either in counseling, they know something about it, and I was just surprised, and I went, "You mean they can charge you to have to go and do your job?" And they were like, "Yeah, because it's all considered part of the practicum and school learning."
I'm working that like it's my overtime job because it gets me towards 100K income away from my 40.
Again, how many people are able to guarantee that they're going to go from 40 to 100K within just 1 to 2 years of a job? How many people can get that? Not saying it's not impossible, not saying that they can, but I'm looking at, I mean, she's basically almost a public service worker.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to go in all in on that. For this, maybe we can turn 2 years into 12 months if you go bizarre, crazy on that, or maybe 14 months or something,
Oh, God love Mr. Ramsey, but sometimes, holy cow.
instead of just going, well, the normal is, no, normal ain't where you are.
No, normal is definitely not where they're at, 328,000. But oddly enough, it's also not surprising. So in a way, there is some normalcy to it.
Right.
So, get after it. And have you guys been through Financial Peace University?
No, sir, we haven't. My
Okay.
mother-in-law's been telling me about it.
I want you to go through it because I want the support around you for you guys to get dialed in on a hardcore track that gets you out of this mess. Okay? And I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to give it to you, okay?
Well, thank you.
How is she going to have time to go do it if she's supposed to go hardcore and work it all the time? It's just a thought. You're not supposed to be at FPU, Financial Peace University. You're supposed to be going to hardcore working all the time. Oh, jeez.
Thank you.
All right, it's a 9-week class. You have to go once a week for 9 weeks. You have to attend if I give it to you free. And then
How is she supposed to have time? You've just told her. I mean, what do you want her to do? Go to your class and go hardcore there? You want her to get out of this bill?
and someday when you're out of this mess, you find somebody that's scared and overwhelmed with student loan debt, and you pay for them to go through. But that's later on, okay?
Okay, that's the end of the video. All right, people. Well, there was clearly no adult in the room. And by the time there are adults in the room, who knows what this bill is going to be. I wish them the absolute best. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I want to thank you so much for listening to this, and I hope you will consider subscribing. I'm getting tired. It's time for me to head to bed. And I hope you will consider subscribing, and I want to thank you for being here. Have a great night. Bye.